And we are live. Locked. Alright guys, and we are live. Let me just get okay, sweet, we are live. Okay, sweet, we are live. Okay guys, before we start, quick disclaimer. Sweet, we are live. This should not be seen as financial advice, and please do seek financial advice before making any financial decisions. This is purely for educational and entertainment purposes only. You will lose money if you follow what I do. So please bear that in mind. 8:35 now, 25 minutes to the open. 8:35 London Open, so going to jump right into the analysis for the day. Firstly, just quickly looking at pound data that we've got. So green pound data across the board. So green GDP coming out a little bit firmer than what was forecast, so that should be positive for the pound. And if we jump to the pound, we can already see that jump. So in terms of continuation ideas, so we'll go through that now. Just for the rest of the day, we only have the sentiment index later this afternoon. Previous was 71.6. Let me just jump to the dashboard. Previous was 71.6. See what we had. Jump to the dashboard. Previous was 71.6. What we had. Jump to the dashboard. Previous was 71.6. What we had. Jump to the dashboard. Previous was 71.6. What we had. Jump to the dashboard. Previous was 71.6. What we had. Jump to the dashboard. Okay, so from May 26 we've been pushing firmer on the sentiment index, and if we look at the last 5 years, we are very close to levels that we are seen on October 2021. Right, so that's the only thing we need to look out for today. Starting off with the DXY, gonna do a top-down analysis for you guys on the weekly. So to start off the week, I started off the week bullish, purely due to the fact that we've got this weekly wick fill that we're almost busy filling now. One thing that made the DXY analysis quite tricky for me was due to the fact that we closed bullish, but we did not close above this previous area of support, now potentially turn resistance, so therefore it was quite tricky. But obviously, just looking at the wick fill, we have already filled the majority of the wick. So Friday, most of the week pushed bullish. is there a possibility for a pullback play? Yesterday, quite a big drop of the CPI, and then still closed bullish. So depending on where we flip on the daily, and if we flip, we do have these areas potentially to target to the left, 102.90, close to 103. These are levels of contention. And diving down to the lower time frame, let's quickly look at the 5 minute. Still above the daily pivot level, and we are currently still above the daily pivot Asia lows. So if we can hold Asia lows into the open, so potentially get something like this where we push up, retest the Asia lows, we can come test the Asia highs. Obviously, if we reject the Asia lows, we could come down to retest the daily pivot at the Asia lows. We could come down. Gold, also going to do a quick top-down analysis starting from the weekly candle. Last week was bullish, up bearish. I was expecting this wick fill and potentially come and retest this area of support down here. We've already done that, so this is the area that we need to contend with. Are we going to close below this level on the weekly, or are we going to find support here? Just looking at the overall market structure on the weekly, we have broken this previous swing high level, but we have yet to confirm bullish market structure breaking these highs. So all the while, if we can stay above these highs, so all the 1892, these lows right here, that's going to give us the ability to actually push up and come and retest these highs, or if we start taking out these lows, then we will continue bearish. But on the day, let's quickly look at how yesterday's daily candle closed. Yesterday's daily candle closed, did not break Wednesday's high, but we had a big push to the upside. We've now created a bottom wick, and now potentially we can come and fill this range to the downside. Shot range we can come and fill out these ranges to 1907. Yesterday, while we were in the trading session, I mentioned to a few guys in the office this daily candle had no bottom wick, and that was a little bit suspect to me. But we have now created a bottom wick. Also, 4 days of straight bearish price action to the downside. We could expect today to potentially close green due to the fact that we can get a pullback. And if you look at previous times as well, this was on the 19th of July, 4 days of decline, and then we had a pullback. So very likely we could see a pullback today on gold. So just dropping down to the 5 minute. Currently trading above Asia highs, still below the daily pivot. I would say if you are not in a trade as of yet, I would suggest trading before London Open. But these Asia highs, look for price to potentially trade back into them. And for once we trade into that level and hold that, we can potentially come and retest the daily pivot and even come back to the weekly S1. So that is a scenario we can look at. The other scenario is that we fail to hold Asia highs and we actually come down below, and that would then be the fake out recession, retest this area, fake out Asia high to then continue lower, test Asia lows, Asia high to then continue lower. So mixed bias on that. US 30, Nasdaq, I'm not going to run through now. Obviously not trading them during London session, but later on the session we can have a look for what we can expect this afternoon. And then USDs are a pair that I'm currently back testing, a pair that I'm currently on the daily. a pair that I'm currently. Yesterday closed bearish on the day. We look at the weekly starting from top down. Yesterday closed bearish on the day. We look at the weekly. Weekly was bullish. Look at that weekly bullish engulfing. We had this wick to fill, and we've got this area of contention right here, and we've got this 19 level, and whether we pass this level this week is to be seen. And whether we bullish continuation, we would ideally want to see price close above this area. And if you look on the weekly as well, you'll see that we've, after creating a swing high, we've created a lower high, and we've taken out that low, and now this is a pullback. So either this is the shift that we're going to get in trend, where we take out these highs there, or this is just a very deep pullback to next week to potentially continue lower. However, if we close bullish next week, it is difficult for me to sell against the bullish weekly candle, but it's still long. We've got the entire day left, so but it's still long. Jumping down to the daily time frame, so let's quickly look at this. Jumping down to daily close bearish yesterday. Look at this. Daily candle pulled back to retest that area of past resistance. Now, obviously, potential support. But again, end of the week, can we expect the end of week pullback on the SPARE? And just looking at what we've got on the Asia lows, currently trading relatively close to the Asia lows, currently trading relatively close to the Asia lows, currently trading relatively close to the Asia lows, currently trading. Oh shit. Okay, check now. So Asia lows, I want to see what we do at these Asia lows. Still looking bullish in the meantime. This could be an area to execute from these Asia lows for a pushback up to the Asia highs. We haven't ever retested the Asia highs already pre-session. And then GBP USD, starting off with the weekly, bearish on the week. Haven't filled this wick as of yet. And what I want to see is whether we can close below this area right here. Good morning, Neil. Neil, how's the audio? Just want to confirm. Our techie just let me know that we've got a bit of a reverb. Is the audio fine now? Just give me a heads up on the audio. Mo, is the audio good? Sweet. Okay. Sorry for that, guys. I had a bit of a reverb on there. GBP USD on the weekly. Obviously, weekly bias was bearish. We closed below this area of previous resistance, which did not hold as support. Close below that. Now we're in the secondary range, and if the weekly can close below this level here at, I would say, 12700, that's going to open up the door next week for a deeper pullback. But if we can find support here, potentially close bullish, then we've got a case for us to come and retest these levels and potentially to even come and retest these highs. Daily time frame, yesterday, massive push to the upside, then reversed end of the day. Just looking at what is in front of me in terms of what we can see on the day. We did close below this area. Massive top wick took out this prior day's high, liquidity grab right there. Also, if you pull that to the left hand side, you'll see this was a previous area of support. We found resistance, and then yesterday failed to close above that level. So we can still push up, maybe close above that level. But for me, while we close below this previous area of support here, I would still be looking short. And where can we target? Downside targets for me would be, I would say, 12610. These are levels that I would be watching to the downside. Then obviously flipping down to a lower time frame. Let's quickly check at what we've got on the lower time frame. Okay, so we already had a nice push up. GDP news pushing price up. So what I want to see is what we can do at these Asia highs. Either going to look for continuation from these Asia highs. You can also see moving averages are starting to point up. If we can hold the Asia highs and then later on in the session start trading above this daily pivot, get something like this where we close above the daily pivot level, then I can start looking for the weekly pivot level and then my R1. Otherwise, I would say the best case scenario would be a pullback up to Asia highs. If we can hold Asia high, we can then come and retest the daily highs or the session highs that we formed during pre-London, and that would be my thesis for GBP USD. Then quickly running to GBP JPY as well, looking very similar, obviously correlated to GBP USD. So again, my area for contention would be the Asia highs. I would want to see what the Asia high does, and then obviously way above the pivot, daily pivot sitting at the Asia lows. If we get to the Asia lows and my AD, my accumulation distribution chart still shows bullish pressure, I would consider buys, or I would consider buys on the Asia high. And then USD JPY, let's quickly look at the daily, 12 minutes still open. So yesterday, quite a big push. When we get a push like this and setting up against a resistance level, either two things are going to happen on the daily time frame. We're either going to get a move above, which is going to be a fake out, which is going to trap breakout traders. Also going to stop out the guys that are trying to sell this resistance level. So once they take out this high right there, they could sharply reverse it, trapping all the breakout traders, stopping out all of the early sellers. Or what you can get is a case where price is going to range in this area, because we've obviously had 4 days of straight upward pressure. And if you take that, this is almost a 300 pip move on the week. So weekly targets have already been met in terms of the weekly wick fill that we've had here. I'll just show you guys. This is the weekly wick fill, and then also already testing this prior area of resistance. So depending on how the weekly closes, if we can close above that area, we can look for continuation buys next week. Looking on the day, obviously massive bullish push. I would not be surprised if we just range in this area today. Big ranges equate to small moves afterwards, and small ranges equate to big breakout moves afterwards. So daily is bullish. Have to consider 4 days of advance, and also Friday, can we get a pullback? It is still looking quite bullish. And if I mark out my Asia highs and my Asia lows, let's quickly look at where our daily pivot is all the way down here to 144.28, and buys, I would say buys are not ideal due to the fact that we've pushed so far. But here's the thing with the markets is, you can think it's overextended and you can think that it should pull back, but that is not the case. The market will do what it wants, and at the end of the day, it's your job as a trader to facilitate your risk and try and take the highest probability trades that you can take. So Asia high is going to be tricky, but if we close above that, we've got the 145 level just above that, which is going to make it quite tough. I would say if we can start breaking below the Asia lows and we actually start rejecting Asia lows, that is where I will start to look for short positions. But I think there's a lot cleaner plays on GBP USD and GBP yen. Actually just gonna go ahead and set some alerts for us on the Asia highs for continuation buys. Daily is still bearish. We still have some time left for the open. So Dow Jones weekly time frame. I was looking at this on the weekly. Last week closed bearish engulfing. I would have ideally liked for this weekly candle to actually take out the prior week's high, and as you can see, we never did that. And for a potential swing high point, I don't know if you guys know how to establish a swing high, but it is where the left hand side, or the weekly high on the left and the weekly high on the right are lower than the actual swing point. In this case, we do not have that. So I do not trust these levels as a swing high. Let me just give you guys an example of a swing high level. This, for instance, is a textbook swing high, actually two next to one another. That one right there and that one right there. That indicates major swing points in the market. Even though you can get a scenario where, okay, that actually also took out the high, but these are my ideal swing scenarios. You can see on the left, your weekly high is lower than your swing point, and on the right, your weekly high is lower. So you almost have this, not really a head and shoulders pattern, but this equates to a swing high. The reason why I also like it, you can see that it takes out a previous weekly high, trapping breakout traders, and then reverses, and exactly the same here, breaks a previous weekly high, traps breakout traders, and then reverses. We did not get that, but I was still bearish on the week due to this fact that we closed bearish. We also have this previous area, this barcode we printed. We have yet to retest that area, so that is why I was, apologies, that is why I was bearish to start the week off. Going on the daily, I actually took sales yesterday post CPI, caught a small move on Dow Jones. Looking on the daily, so this is quite tricky if I have to be honest. We've held this area of support and we have rejected this area of resistance. So technically we are trapped in this range, and what I would like to see for us for next week is if we can continue bearish and actually close below this level, something like this on the daily. This is going to make things quite easy for us next week, starting off on Monday, potentially pull back Monday, Tuesday, retest this area, and then continue lower. Or what we can see is, because we've obviously had this nice push to the upside, we can range for a week or two. we have actually been in this range almost for 2 weeks. This right here, if you don't know what a range is, that right there, my friends, that is a range. But on the day, just looking at the day, we could come and fill that wick. Let's quickly jump down to a lower time frame, 4 minutes to the open. So it is looking still below the pivot. Let's see, what are we doing on the day? Okay, we up 0.10% on the day, pushing up to the pivot. That's going to give us, what is this, a 0.2. So I would say ideally if we can start grinding up until NYSE and we can close above this daily pivot level, 35,291, I would look for continuation bars to come and fill this wick that we've had yesterday. But if we start breaking lows and start creating bearish market structure, I would start considering sells. Let's quickly look at Nasdaq on the daily as well. Massive wick to the upside. I would still consider the wick fill. Also, what I like here on the daily is if you look at that daily candle, this one here, first took out the daily low, now potentially reversing. So even if this daily candle does something like this, pushes lower, but still respecting that low right there, and then starts to push up, leaving say a daily wick like that, and we then start pushing up, we can come and retest this previous area of support, now potentially resistance. So Friday, I think if you go back on the stats as well, Fridays are mostly bullish for the indices. And just looking at the 80, there's a lot of bullish pressure, even though we sold off yesterday. And Nasdaq, the pivot sitting at the Asia highs, so something to monitor for a bit later. If we can start trading above this pivot, or ideally pre-market, do something like this where we range and then get the breakout, or even grind above and then hold the pivot. And markets are open. So let's start seeing what we've got. DXY on the Asia low. If we can hold the Asia low, Asia highs, obviously the next area of interest. We are ever bullish on the daily as well. Massive bottom wick closed above this area of resistance right there. So I am bullish on the day for DXY. Quite a nice move here on USD ZAR, holding Asia lows. For the guys that are new, I do not trade the first 15 minutes of the London Open. I call that the London Shuffle. That's usually where the fake outs occur. So I want to see price action, and ideally if we are going to look for buys, I want to see price actually push down, and then at 9:15 we can start looking for buys. But if that is not the case, I will not be executing on that. So we've got our levels, Asia highs, and let's see if we can get a trade on this Friday afternoon for the inaugural opening bell. This is still just a dry run from Monday. We will be on on full alert. Let me just check what the heck. 68. Okay guys, what's the play for this morning? What are you guys doing? Buying, selling? Gold holding Asia highs. I'm not too keen to jump into this, but as mentioned, Asia highs level you should monitor. Pound USD launching another attack on the pivot. One thing we do need to consider is this round number right here, 12700. If we do not get a full retrace up until the Asia highs, 12700 round number, something you need to consider. And the same with pound yen, round number here at 184. So if you want to trade this extension, that is fine. For me personally, I wouldn't trade this. Just look at this massive displacement here. To try and buy close to these highs, that is not something that I consider high probability. I want to trade around my anchor points, and that is Asia high, Asia low. I feel that is high probability trades, but after we've displaced out of the range, I'm not going to buy close to session highs or session lows. That is just purely my way of trading. We've got Neil van der Westhuizen in the building, aka the pivot killer. Neil, give me your plays for this morning. Do you back my analysis, or what are you guys looking at in terms of trade setups? This right here is the Asia range for Dow Jones. Only reason I don't consider trading US futures during London, even if you go back, let's look at yesterday. This was basically the entire London range. Like, why would I want to trade within this range right here if I can just wait for New York open? Exactly the same on the previous day. Let's quickly look at here. We actually had some decent movement. This was on Wednesday. Actually had this nice push to the upside, but again, not really something I'm interested in. But let's see, maybe we'll take a stab at a long if we can clear these Asia highs. I'm currently short on GU, trading back to Asia highs for TP. Backing your analysis, taking a riskier entry. Yeah, look, it is quite a nice move up. I would ideally wait for Asia highs, see if we can hold Asia highs and even this round number right here. But if you took it from the daily pivot after this push up, nothing wrong. There's about 20 pips that you can bag. Almost 9:15, and then we'll start zoning in, start locking it in, and start looking for potential setups. Let's see if we can retest on all these Asia highs. Then I'm going to consider a little buy here on US 30. If not, then I'm going to wait for NYSE, but let's see if we can get a little squeeze here on okay, let's lock it in. See if we can get some action here at the Asia highs. Gold holding Asia highs. USDs are breaking lows. Let's see if we can execute. Okay, US30, I'm gonna take 1 year shits for shits and giggles. Wish me luck as soon as this 1 minute closes. Bullish. I've taken a little squeeze on this, and let's see if we can push up. Asia highs. I want to see if we can hold the Asia highs. Ideally, what we do not want to see is a closure back below the Asia highs. I want to see this level hold. And if we can hold that level, push up to the daily pivot. Otherwise, this was the fake out to the upside. But again, we do have this daily wick fill. Let me actually just mark out this wick fill level. And then we can start. Let's see if we can hold this level. How did the previous hourly close? Starting to see some deceleration here. I would need to see a closure above these Asia highs if I'm going to hold this trade. If not, I will just close out. But like I mentioned, we do have the probability of the daily wick fill, and I'm going to play that bias. I will close out if we cannot hold these Asia highs, because then that obviously shows to me that this is a fake out, and then we can retrace lower, and then later on in the session, prior NYSE open, we can start looking for buys. But if we cannot start moving away from these Asia highs, I will be closing. So ideally what I want to see now is for us to start moving away from the Asia high, start taking out the session high, and if we can start taking out that session high, then that would give me some comfort as to price pushing up to this daily pivot. And then from there I would wait for NYSE either have some sort of consolidation. Let's say we push up, some consolidation, pullback prior to NYSE, and then a breakout trade from that daily pivot. Other than that, I will not be trading anything other than this Asia high. But let's see, we're holding it currently. I want to start seeing a move away from these Asia highs and start breaking these session highs. I do not want to see a rejection from these session highs. If I do get a rejection here, very likely this could be a potential double top, and we close back inside the Asia range, and then I will close out. But let's see what happens. I want to see a nice strong push above these Asia highs, session highs. If we can create some daylight. Oh, you see, that is not ideal. No bottom wick. Let's see. How's this 30-minute gonna close? 30 minutes gonna close bullish. Potentially. Okay guys, this 5 minutes, if we can't start pushing bullish the last 2 minutes of this candle, I will be closing out this position. But I'm going to give it some room to move, creating this bottom wick. So if we can start flipping bullish, I want to see this push up. But if we get a bearish closure back inside the Asia range, I'm closing this out. There we had the break above, we had this little resistance created. We had the bullish candle close holding the Asia highs, and now I want to start seeing it move up. Otherwise I'm just going to close out for a tiny little loss here, and then just wait for NYSE. But if we can start pushing bullish, that would be ideal. If not, it is what it is. Three minutes, let's see. Also closure of the 30 minutes, so you don't know how deep this 30-minute pullback is going to be. So let's see. I want to honestly see a drive now on the 5 minutes. If we can start driving now, that would be great. Take out that high, get a nice little pop away from the Asia highs. So it's going to give us some room. This is the ideal scenario that I want to see. If we can close like that, that would give me some comfort, push away, and then we can start grinding up towards the daily pivot at 35,291. But let's see what we get. All right, 1 minute. I don't want to see this flipping bearish again. If this starts to flip bearish again, I'm going to close out. I actually want to see this push. If we don't get the push, and I'm going to reduce my stops to about 20 points. Just below that 5 minute with no bottom wick. Minutes going to close. Guys, I'm actually just closing this out right here. Due to the fact that we've got the 30-minute closing, and I do not want to sit in a case where it pulls back all the way to down here. And also very muted from these Asia highs. So therefore, closing this out. Tiny little profit. What is that? I don't even think that's a Big Mac meal, but how many points was that? Closed out for literally almost nothing. 3 points, but I'm not too keen on. I'm going to wait for NYSE. This can push up all the way to the daily pivot, but I'm not going to sit through that. Okay, USD JPY breaking the Asia lows. Let's see what we do at the retest of these Asia lows. But there is some bearish pressure starting to build up here. And then pound yen also coming back to the Asia highs. So let's see if we can hold those Asia highs. But other than that, fairly muted price action as of yet. Very nice test here of the Asia lows on USD ZAR. The XY breaking below the Asia lows, so the longer we stay below the Asia lows, high probability we're going to start seeing GBP USD, Euro USD starting to push up. Let's actually quickly take a look at Euro USD quickly. Not a pair that I trade, but obviously highly correlated with the DXY. So I would say for Euro USD, if we're going to continue bullish, we need to stay above these Asia highs. And you can see that currently Euro USD testing the Asia highs and DXY testing the Asia lows. Here comes the 30-minute pullback. Getting some rejections off that Asia low with USD JPY. There's that 30-minute pullback. When was it? Last week? No, it was this week. When did we have that nice push off the Asia highs? Let's just have a look here. It was Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday we had this. Yeah, Wednesday 9:20. There you can see that nice pop from the Asia highs. This was your 15-minute shuffle right there. Then found support on the Asia highs, and then we had a nice pop to the upside. I think it tested actually previous session Asia Open, London, New York Open. I was hoping for something similar to this. Support from the Asia highs and then a push away. Currently not doing that. Obviously just a break-even trade. Would I consider shorts? No, I'm going to wait for NYSE. Alright guys, very shortly going to call it a session. Basically, as explained, DXY pushing bullish for most of the week. Obviously, massive rejection candle yesterday, closing bullish back above this little range right here. So depending on how deep we retrace, if we start flipping bullish again on the day, I do think we can start filling these wicks to the left-hand side. If not, then this is some sort of topping formation we've got here. Looking on the 5-minute, currently trading here at the Asia lows. And if we cannot start trading away from the Asia lows, I think if we start holding Asia lows, then DXY can start pushing bullish. But I think ideally what you want to see for bullish continuation, anything above 102.50. If we can hold 102.50, all these Asia lows, then we can start pushing bullish. Gold finding resistance here at the session highs, and then US 30. Even though I'm bearish on the week, I actually potentially want to see a bullish move on the daily. This week, I want to see this week filled. My plan for this afternoon is I'm going to monitor Asia highs. We had let's call it a break-even trade here from the Asia highs. But ideally, if we can start grinding up prior to NYSE and have like some sort of consolidation here at the pivot and then breakout, that's what I'm going to consider. The sell scenario, if we start trading below the Asia lows, then I'll start looking for sells. But other than that, that daily wick fill does seem compelling. Same with Nasdaq, Asia highs, pivot. If we start grinding up to that level, I'm going to start looking for buys. USDs are, from my rule book, this was a long from the Asia lows. To potentially test the Asia highs, but just due to the fact that we've been almost, 3 days pushing bullish. Yesterday we had this bearish close, also sitting up against this 19 big psychological level, end of the week. If you missed the majority of the move, now's not the time to get FOMO. As well, from the entire Asia range was literally just this one big range, so not too keen on that. Price action not that clear. GBP USD obviously had this nice push up. Maybe we consolidate here. Prior to NYSE we dip into the Asia highs to then continue higher, but I would be very suspect buying at these levels. I think if you want to go for a buy opportunity, try and execute from the round number 1 to 700 or the Asia highs. That would be the play. Don't get stuck inside of this range. Pound yen just grinding back. Asia highs again, I would say this 183.70 level. Monitor that. What you want to ideally see is price trading into that level, even dipping into the Asia range, some sort of confirmation in terms of a bullish engulfing or a nice pin bar, and then you can target these session highs. Other than that, it could grind all the way through the Asia highs, through the Asia lows, and basically create a top wick for the weekly candle. USD JPY below the Asia lows. Again, ideally for me, I want to see some sort of engulfing candle here, or even some type of structure where we push into the level, we create some sort of support, a little fake out to the upside, and then a break of structure for me to execute. This single 5-minute bearish candle is not enough for me. If that candle was an engulfing candle, I would have considered sells, but just one single bearish candle is not enough. So that is the session, guys. That just did a bit of a dry run for Monday, and from Monday to Friday we will start live streaming every day. We've got a few of the traders that's on the floor here as well that will be joining me on the live stream that trade different asset classes. So be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on Monday. Stay safe, trade safe, and have a great weekend. Cheers, guys.